Hello, everyone. It's Marla. Welcome back to Twinstrology. I hope that you're all doing well. Today, we're going to do a check in with the masculine and feminine energies. Haven't done one of these for a while, so I'm excited to check in with the cards and see what's been going on. I do have a couple announcements. First of all, I'm going to be adding a couple SRTs that I'm going to be posting on Vimeo. They'll be somewhat related to this reading in a way because at least one of the readings I know, I plan to do a clearing for the masculine, feminine, and the union energies related to the month of June. So, whatever, I'll go in and I'll ask Spirit to clear those things specifically for the month. So, whatever energies are coming up, it can help you head off those energies. I do feel like as we come to the end of June and into July, there is likely to be a lot of karmic clearing going on. So I think that will be useful for Spirit to help clear those karmic energies out. The second SRT that I'll post over on Vimeo, I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. I'm still waiting for guidance at the time that I'm recording this reading, but those ones will be for purchase, and I'll put the links below. And I'll still be posting other SRT sessions for free on my channel. This is just for those of you that feel like you could use some additional support. The second thing is, for those of you that are new, the primary deck that I'm going to be using in this reading is the Intuit Twin Flame Oracle Messages from Your Beloved, which is a deck that I wrote all the messages for. And there are 133 message cards in this deck, so way more cards than you get in a standard message deck or standard Twin Flame deck. And I think a lot of them are on a higher vibration. The messages are meant to not just keep you stuck in the 3D reality, but to help you take a higher perspective on the relationship. So if you like this deck and you're interested in it, I'll link that below too. And if you're in the United States, you can get a 10% discount on it as well. Okay, now let's get on to the reading. I'm going to set the cards up a little bit different because I'm kind of doing it in a cheat way today, meaning I'm not getting out my camera. I just don't have time to do all that editing. Okay. So these are the main cards for the incoming union energies, the messages coming from our higher selves about what is going on. So the overall energy of unions is there are subconscious fears affecting our ability to attract love and abundance. The universe is helping us make them conscious so we can easily attract what we want, including each other. So Spirit is telling us that there are subconscious fears that are in the way of our ability to really create the life that we want to have. And we have to somehow bring these subconscious fears to the surface so we can acknowledge them, work through them, and release them, and then get more aligned with what it is we're trying to create or manifest, or how we can align with Source. So, this is another indication that there is going to be patterns coming, fears showing up that we need to clear. Now, the clarifier for this is chaotic experiences in family life. A prevailing sense that domestic life isn't safe causes a feeling of instability in partnerships. You must go inward to create a sense of safety within yourself. So, Spirit is saying that part of the subconscious fears are coming from our experience as a child, or we could say our inner child. Now, our inner child is connected to our subconscious because our inner child is the gatekeeper of the subconscious mind. And if your inner child doesn't feel safe, it's a little bit more difficult to be able to access the contents of your subconscious mind. But I feel like the place to start looking for these subconscious fears are going to be things that happened in your life growing up. And this card, we see this little boy and his parents are fighting. Okay, he didn't feel safe. And this is likely to be triggered. As I said, there's a lot of karmic clearing going on in the next couple of months, I feel. Maybe that's already started. It's been May has been a tough month as well. So, yeah, this is kind of the overall energy. Dealing with subconscious fears, patterns, and programs. The song I pulled for the energy of union was also Instant Karma by John Lennon. So some of these songs today, I'm not going to read the lyrics for. You probably know the songs, but in a lot of ways, the title is really the most important part. So Instant Karma is another indication that we're dealing with karma. And what is karma? It's our programs, patterns, and beliefs that are creating limitations for us. So we are in a time, really this year is a lot of breaking free of all our limitations that we're still holding on to. So what's positive in unions are the cards on the left. I'm beginning to focus on my mission, and our connection is a part of that. So definitely I see a lot of people expanding in their mission and their purpose right now. A lot of people are making changes from a more material-based profession or career into more of a spiritual profession. Everyone is becoming more creative right now as well, because the masculine and feminine continue to become more and more aligned. And when that happens, we become more creative. Definitely, we become more connected to source energy. And that truly is where our inspiration flows from. So, a lot of creativity, and I feel like a lot of the subconscious fears we're dealing with are not just about relationships or creating a union, but it's also about creative expression, authenticity, and sharing what makes us special with the world. The clarifier here is emotionally in the other world. You frequently feel the victim and have a portal to another reality to which you often escape. You can overcome isolation by finding inner peace. So again, one of the subconscious fears that we're likely to be dealing with is some kind of victimhood. I think victimhood is very common on this journey as well. We can often feel like a victim of the other person when they're not meeting our expectations. We can feel like victims of our childhood. There's a tendency for light workers to give their power away, which is also like all of these things are karmic issues. So there'll be some confrontation internally with this energy, but the positive side of it is that it's creating an expansion as far as who we are, our spiritual gifts, and how we're here to share them with the world. I'm reading this portal to another reality as actually being something positive. Now, sometimes that can be a negative if we are trying to escape reality. But I feel in this sense, because it's in what's positive, it can be reaching a higher state of consciousness. And this last sentence here is very important. You can overcome isolation by finding inner peace. And really, all the channel messages that I brought forth recently dealt with finding inner peace, because this is really so key for what we're going through. And if you're trying to create union, then finding inner peace is very important, because that inner peace brings balance. If we go to that clarifier for the central energy, chaotic experiences in family life. So when we don't feel safe, when there's lots of chaos around us, we cannot feel at peace. So we're needing to clear out whatever those patterns and programs are, so that we can bring ourselves to a state of inner peace. And a lot of this is about being stable in our energy and being emotionally stable, so that the things that are going on around us aren't affecting us in a negative way. If we feel like we're a victim, then the things that other people are doing around us are going to affect our emotional state. And in that way, we're letting other people control us. So all this balance and finding that inner peace is the ability to take back your power. And even for some of you, taking back your power from your twin flame dynamic, because a lot of the twin flame energy can also be very chaotic. And for some of you, that can be mirroring your childhood patterns and causing you a lot of emotional turmoil. So one of the ways that the masculine and feminine are aligning, or how union can help us, or how the union with God helps us, is it helps us step out of that, so that we have that emotional stability. So even like what our twin flame is doing doesn't affect us. And that's so important, because that's going to bring that balance to any external union that you're trying to create. And the song about what's positive is In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel. This is definitely a song where I'm sure all of you know. So again, I'm not going to read all the words. I think we could sum up this song by saying that it's really about finding your way back to love, regardless of what you've suffered. Yes, there's been pain. Yes, there's been emptiness. People have run away. But it's overcoming all of that for the sake of love. What challenges unions right now? When our conversations are lighthearted and playful, it eases the tension that is sometimes there when we talk. So I feel like what the challenge is going to be is conversations are not going to be easy. If we're dealing with subconscious fears, and quite likely some triggers, then our energy may be a little bit heavier. It may be harder to have those playful conversations, those calm conversations. So I'm expecting that there's going to be tension. I'm trying to think about what Mercury is doing. I know that Mercury is going into Gemini at the beginning of June. And I feel that, Mercury in Gemini, right, is very good for conversations. But I really feel like what the cards are saying here is that People want conversations to happen, but they don't know how to have them. For instance, if it's with your counterpart, you might want to have a conversation, but maybe there's been some tension and you don't know how to start the conversation. Or maybe a conversation happens and it's very tense and that's not how you want it to go. But so yeah, I hope that is clear. It's like the conversations want to be had, but how to have them in a way that's not confrontational, or how to let our guard down as well. So we're going to see like our masculine side may still be having a struggle with saying their feelings, expressing their feelings, or being open. The clarifier here is exploration of the freedom of self. A thirst for freedom and self-discovery makes long-term partnerships hard for you to maintain, but relationships bring important insight and a true reflection of yourself. So there's one of the challenges is going to be seeing the things that are happening in the relationship has a reflection of ourselves. So other people, and this is going to be more than just the one person, there'll probably be a lot of people around you that are maybe mirroring things to you. And they're doing that in order to help you find freedom. I think this is likely to be a big energy in June because I've already been feeling it personally and getting messages from my guides that part of the energy is going to be releasing limitations because there's a need to expand. There's a need to find freedom of self. So one of the things that often limit our freedom of self is relationship with others. And we do have the North and South Node in Aries and Libra, which is trying to assist us with just these very things. But yeah, there definitely could be some challenges with relationships in June. A thirst for freedom makes long-term partnerships hard for you to maintain. So for some of you, you may have always struggled with relationships. And maybe that's because you had a chaotic childhood. For some of you, maybe there was a desire to escape. Maybe there's been trust issues. And so there's a part of you that has run away from relationships a lot. And there's something about that that is going to be confronted. Maybe part of, if you're dealing with issues of victimhood, it might be understanding that that energy is coming from within rather than externally to you. The song that we have for what challenges us is Reunited by Peaches and Herbs. I never say that right. Peaches and Herb. So some of you may not know this song because I think it's from the 70s. It's like a 70s soul song. So maybe I'll read the lyrics here. I was a fool to ever leave your side. The breakup we had has made me lonesome and sad. I realize I love you because I want you bad. I spent the evening with the radio, regret the moment I let you go. Our quarrel was such a way of learning so much. I know now that I love you because I need your touch. Reunited and it feels so good. Reunited because we understood. There's one perfect fit and sugar, this one is it. We both are so excited because we reunited. Okay, but remember this is in the position of challenge. So as we come into this desire to get closer to some kind of reunion, there's likely to be quarrels. But remember, this song says our quarrel was such a way of learning. So these tensions that might come up in relationships with other people are a learning experience to make reunion possible. So that might be a good thing to focus on in June, is that any hardships or lesson are all going to be for your highest good in being able to attract what you want. So let's take a look at the divine feminine. So the focus for the divine feminine is I feel like I don't deserve your love. I'm worried you'll leave me when you see who I really am. So one of the major subconscious fears for the feminine is going to be unworthiness and undeserving. Now, when this is a subconscious fear, one may think that they're doing everything to support a relationship and they may not see how their subconscious fears are perhaps making them run or creating defensiveness or creating maybe unreasonable expectations on the other person. I feel like I don't deserve your love can also be like in the negative, like testing other people to see if they really love you. And oftentimes there's nobody that can measure up to the test because the feeling is really coming internally rather than externally. We've mentioned abandonment during this reading as well, and I'm worried that you'll leave me. That's the fear of abandonment. There might be issues of codependency and appeasement with this as well, because if you're worried that someone's going to leave you, then you may not be your authentic self. And I think for the divine feminine, authenticity and self expression is really what is going to be key. The clarifier here is on an emotional island. In order to uncover frozen emotions that have been stored in your body and create emotional safety, you must reconnect with your heart. Very much goes with that chaotic relationships, no, chaotic childhood, chaotic family life. Subconsciously, you may have frozen emotions. Something that reminds me of is one of the 4 F's, which is freeze. I know it's not really connected to that, but I'm just saying that because I feel like that might be something for some of you to explore. You may freeze when you're afraid. But Spirit is saying that emotions are not being accessed fully, and there needs to be a reconnection with the heart. I have felt a lot of heart activations. I feel like our heart chakra is going through an expansion process. But I also feel like there could be triggers happening, and the way that the feminine might react is to shut down emotionally or implement some coping strategy that was developed as a child that maybe isn't serving you anymore. And just this general desire to disconnect from the heart when there's a lot of pain rather than, kind of allowing the pain to be there and recognizing that it will pass. The pain is there to create the self exploration that's needed. How this is showing up in the feminine's reality. When I let myself go deeper into thoughts of you, I can feel my heart opening. When you let yourself go beyond that natural defense system, that natural emotional barrier, that's when your heart really opens. So for some of you, you might have done a lot of work getting yourself to this space where you are more open, but there's still a wall. So it's going to the next level, going over this next wall in order to get to the other side and be more expressive in the heart. I feel like these cards here for the feminine are about becoming the Empress energy. And the Empress is working through the heart. This is clarified with vocally creative. Falling in love radically changes your life as your lover becomes the muse of your creative expression. You love telling stories and making people laugh. Yeah, so this person for you, whatever this masculine energy represents for you, this is your muse. So one of the positive things that is coming through this journey for you is your creative expression is growing. Your psychic abilities are growing. And this is because this journey is helping you open your heart more and more and more. And this is where creativity flows. For some of you, I feel that letting yourself go deeper into thoughts of you is really maybe also spiritually based. So it can be another person for some of you, or for some of you, it can also be God or Christ or whatever deity you worship or coming into contact with. I know the Christ energy is huge right now, and many people are connecting with Christ because of this influx of Christ energy. So it might be going deeper with Jesus in some way that is also helping you open your heart and helping you find a sense of safety. How this is being transformed, or how you can transform it, is expand your concept of what a twin flame is. It's more than romance. It's a deep soul activation to heal in order to embody love and light. Yeah, so I mentioned that we are clearing limitations in order to expand our sense of self. And part of this can be you're expanding what you feel this relationship is, whether it's a twin flame relationship or whatever other title you give it. There will be, I feel, a lot of activations in June. It'll be like triggers and expansion. Usually we need a trigger to help us get to the next level, much as we might hate it as we're going through it. But the more that we can find that inner peace, the quicker we can move through it. But for some of you, your whole idea of what a twin is could be expanding. I mentioned that at the beginning of the year, that how we view what we call twin flames is going to change a lot. And it might be something completely different by the end of the year than we think of it now, or that we have been thinking of it. So there's expansion on that front. This is clarified with pleasure. Pleasure is a motivating factor for you, but even more important is seeking a creative outlet that brings recognition of your many talents and abilities. This idea of I'm beginning to focus on mission and our connection is a part of it, it's definitely coming through the feminine energy and needing this creative outlet to expand our sense of self. And another person, they can help us in a lot of ways, but eventually we need to move beyond just another person. We have to get even more expanded than that. I'm not saying that, you know, you're not interested in your twin anymore. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that other things come into our lives to help us grow. So in this case, what Spirit is saying is our creative energy is helping us grow, but we have blocks to expressing that creative energy right now because of the subconscious fears, the chaotic experiences, the not feeling safe. A lot of that is not just from childhood, but it's really more past life issues of persecution that make light workers, especially the divine feminine, not feel safe to express those gifts because there's been heavy persecution. But maybe it's not fair to say feminine, or we should look at the feminine energy of that as being within all of us, because a lot of men have been persecuted as well. So I don't want to give the impression that this is something that just women have gone through, but I guess the creative energy in all of us, and both men and women have experienced the persecution of their inner feminine. The song that best wraps up the feminine's journey is Find Your Way Back by Jefferson Starship. It's been a long, long road since I packed up and left on my own, and I carry a heavy load just trying to get back to her heart. I sure ain't got no home. I seem to find love where I ramble, and when it's time to go, I hear that voice again saying, Find your way back. Find your way back to her heart, which is really about finding the way back to the heart. When we say her, maybe we could even see that as like the heart of the Divine Mother energy, or just that divine feminine, finding our way back to her through the heart chakra in our creative expression. Okay, divine masculine. The focus of the divine masculine is, you think I'm not listening to you, but I am. I hear everything you say and even replay our conversations in my head. The first thing I'm getting from this card is that the divine masculine are not talking, they're listening. They're on a very inward journey right now. And so for some of you, they may have pulled away, or in any case, they're not really expressing everything. You may wonder what's going on with them. You may think that they've pulled away from you in a type of rejection. But they're saying that they actually are listening and they're replaying conversations. So if you're in communication and you feel like they're not really listening, they are. If you're not in communication, they're still thinking about you and they're still replaying conversations. They may be having regrets about conversations. They may be getting messages through songs as well, or songs might trigger them. If you're someone that posts videos, they may be watching your videos. But yeah, overall, I feel like you might think that the masculine is completely detached from the feminine energy, but they're not. It's like they're observing and they're taking things in. I also feel like this is about God. Just like we had this level of God or Christ on the feminine energy level, I feel like this is on the masculine too. So the masculine are getting more and more in contact with their higher self, and their higher self has been giving them guidance, but I feel like they're not always listening. And I feel like that's coming through their card because they're saying, you think I'm not listening, because they're not taking the action, but they are listening. It's just like maybe they're not ready to take action at this point in time. This is clarified with serious romantic. You have high ideals regarding love and romance, often feeling disappointed that reality doesn't match up to your dreams. Still, you love unconditionally. So I feel like the masculine is, they have this more romantic tendency than they let on. Again, I'm hearing the word frozen, so I feel like they really have this desire for this serious romantic connection, but they're frozen inside and they are hesitant to go towards that kind of relationship because it's very deep and it's very open. It can be very raw. And I feel like they are still working on the ability to do that. They're also telling us that they have felt disappointed in the past. They might be saying, I've tried these serious romantic relationships and I've been disappointed. And think about that as the masculine in all of us. I'm sure everybody listening has had that, kind of idealistic relationship in mind, and they've tried to create it with other people, and it's been a disappointment. And there's been letdowns, and there's been abandonment, and there's been chaos. And what happens after enough of those? We shut down. We don't bother anymore. We don't even try to create that because we think, why bother? I'll just get hurt again. I'll just stay in my status quo. But I feel like the masculine is saying that they are softer than they're showing, and their hearts are more tender than they show and let on. How this is showing up in their reality. Don't be tempted to disconnect from source. Our connection to source is the love and healing we require for reunion. Well, I feel like with the masculine energy, there are times where there's a discomfort in hearing what higher self has to say and wanting to reject that and therefore, in a way, disconnect. It's like the information is coming through, but there's no follow through from the person because of this subconscious fears that we have as the main theme are preventing the full action. So there's a desire to change, and higher self is expressing to the masculine, it's time to change, and there's resistance, or maybe there's fear, or there's no understanding of how to get from point A to point B. The clarifier here is a catalyst to ignite a change in perspective. You often feel your ideas are unacceptable to most people, but if you can convey them in a palatable way, you become a great catalyst for change. From the masculine, I think what they're feeling is a fear of how other people are going to react to them. If I do this, it's not going to be acceptable to other people. Other people aren't going to understand that. So therefore, I'm going to resist my internal guidance on that. Now let's consider that has our own internal action of the feminine and masculine. So your internal feminine, for instance, wants to take this next step in mission, wants to be more creative, wants to speak out about their ideas and what they're feeling, but the inner masculine is hesitant. And your inner guidance might be coming through. Oh, go and do this. Take this next step. But there might be these fears of, I don't know how to do that, or I'm afraid what people are going to think about me. I'm afraid of that rejection and persecution that I experienced before. I don't want people to judge me. Or in the external masculine, it's a fear of being judged. Maybe for some of them, it's like being judged for being spiritual or taking a different spiritual path. There's much more feminine energies are more easily able to access spirituality perhaps in the masculine. I know I'm I know I'm greatly generalizing there, but that's just what's coming through. Just take what resonates for your situation. But there's a struggle to have a change in perspective. And as I mentioned, I think for the masculine, a lot of it is about communication. And they're afraid to communicate, not just with their partner, but they're afraid to open up in other ways as well, maybe sharing with the greater collective or their friends and family. So, what needs to be transmuted in this situation for our masculine? We incarnated together to clear specific patterns from our ancestral bloodlines. Again, going back to chaotic experiences in family, right? There's some ancestral patterns, things that are passed down from one person to the other, which are often negative patterns or abusive patterns that have to be cleared from our masculine side. If you look at this card, you can see that there's a lot of bride and grooms here in the family pictures. And that can be relating to relationship patterns that have created negative tendencies. This is an 8 card, which often represents karma. And it's clarified with, say the quiet part out loud. You strongly believe you make decisions based on rational thinking processes, but in fact, you rely on intuition and emotion more than you realize. So one of the things that is being cleared is the pattern the masculine has of believing that the rational mind is what can be trusted and not intuition. So more of them are moving out of rational thinking process and moving more into intuition. Some of them may not even realize it. They may not realize how connected they are to their intuition and their emotions. That might be something that shows up for them. Obviously, we need rational thinking processes in order to function, but it's really expanding the mind beyond that to other areas. The intuition and the emotions are not something to be shunned. And if we do try to shun them, then we're going to create great unhappiness because we can't heal. If we shut off our emotions, then we're not doing the inner healing to actually find joy and happiness in our lives. But if we look at, some of these cards, especially the family patterns, rational thinking has been held up as what's important. Also, emotions have been minimized, especially those that are in a male body. But again, maybe that's not necessarily true because a lot of females that have a more masculine energy also are disassociated from their emotions. There are plenty of people that experience that as a family pattern. We're not emotional in this family. And if we try to express our emotions, we get disapproval. So we learn not to connect to them. So that needs to be healed. But also kind of the title, say the quiet part out loud. I feel is going back to that difficulty communicating. That's the challenge. And I feel that the masculine thinks a lot about love and romance, but they're not expressing it. And part of the incoming advice from the higher self is Say the quiet part out loud. Don't just whisper it to yourself. Tell another person. We see this woman, she's on the phone, she's talking to someone else. She's sharing what she's feeling. But when our emotions are all blocked up, when we don't trust our intuition, it's hard to really embody that. So there's the lesson for our masculine. The song about the masculine's journey is It Ain't Over Till It's Over by Lenny Kravitz. Again, I'm not going to read the lyrics to this song, but I think the title is important. First of all, it's saying that, things are still in progress for the masculine. Things aren't over for their work. The stage, like they're in a transitional stage. They're trying to find this catalyst for change, but they haven't found it yet. So Spirit is saying that is not over yet. Well, also, I feel it's the connection of the masculine and feminine externally. It's not over. And you may have a masculine that's thinking, I put this situation out of my mind. I've disconnected my emotions from it. I'm focusing on my illogical mind, and I'm going to just block this whole connection. But Spirit is saying, it ain't over till it's over. So with this first card, it's like no matter how they might be trying to block it out, they can't, because the messages are coming from inside of them. It's not just you externally, you're a part of them internally. The song that the feminine would give to the masculine for their true feelings is You're the One That I Want by John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. If you're filled with affection you're too shy to convey, meditate in my direction, feel your way. I better shape up, 'cause you need a man. Yes, I need a man who can keep me satisfied. I better shape up if I'm gonna prove, yeah, you better prove that my faith is justified. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure down deep inside, you're the one that I want. So it feels like the feminine is dedicated to this journey still. The song that the masculine wants to give the feminine about what's going on with them or what they're feeling for the feminine is Lay It on the Line by Triumph. I'm tired of playing foolish games. I'm tired of all your lies making me insane. I don't ask for much. The truth will do just fine. Won't you lay it on the line? Don't waste my time. You've got no right to make me wait. You better talk, girl, before it gets too late. I never ever thought you could be so unkind. Won't you lay it on the line? Okay, so the way I would express this song that the masculine means to give to the feminine is they know that they haven't always done right by you. They have not told the truth and they've been hiding a lot of things. They have made you wait. Although we're going to see that maybe that's not the case when we go further on in this reading. But I feel what the masculine is saying is there's this inner desire growing to lay it on the line with you, to really tell you what they're feeling. And this is what they're working up towards. Okay, so let's go into the future energies as we head into July. The first card is I wish you could see that we're mirroring each other right now. So there's mirroring going on. You're both in the same energy and you're really reflecting each other. Now, that came up at the beginning, right? In the union energies, for what was a challenge was that the other person is reflecting you, whether that's your counterpart or someone else. This is clarified with unpredictable and fractured relationship patterns. Past or current life abandonment requires healing around the idea of what partnership means and what is a healthy level of involvement and expectation. So this is what is being mirrored is abandonment. Unpredictable relationship patterns, and isn't this very much just like that card at the central focus? Chaotic experiences in family. And we talked about other relationships as well, being let down, disappointed, not wanting to bother. So, in all your relationships, or I should say, there may be issues in relationships, won't be all your relationships, but there are likely to be some where this abandonment and this fractured relationship pattern is playing out. And it's there to help you figure out what is a healthy relationship. What does that look like? Because you may not have had very good role models of what that is. You may not have ever had a healthy relationship. Some of you might be in a toxic relationship now and don't know how to get out of that. And it could be your own abandonment that's keeping you in that toxic relationship. One of the ways this can be mirroring is that each person here, the masculine and the feminine, could be dealing with a difficult relationship. For one, it might be a third party that is somewhat toxic. And then for the other person, it could be like a toxic friendship. Or you could both be in a toxic relationship romantically. And so this is showing up as a mirror to bring understanding of these subconscious patterns that you keep replaying in relationship that's creating a limitation. What is the right level of involvement and expectation? As I said earlier, one of the things that we're going to be clearing is that coming into an inner state of peace, even with the divine counterpart, or not letting what the counterpart's doing bring your vibration down. And so this might correlate to your own level of involvement and expectation. Meaning you may be in a codependent pattern. You may be trying to be more involved, like the situation might be calling for you to pull back, and maybe you're not understanding that. Or your pattern is to be codependent and try to attach more when maybe there's some difficulty in the relationship. And I know, because I work with a lot of you, I know that many of you are having difficulties. I mean, there's definitely growth, and there are a lot of people in varying stages of reunion. But even within that, it's like move forward, move back, move forward, move back. There's variances there as people try to understand and realize their own particular patterns that might subconsciously be interfering with creating the relationship that you both want. So looking at these things more of a positive and a growth than has a emotionally traumatic experience, if something like that comes up for you. The next is we project our patterns onto each other, and this makes it difficult to see what is real and what is fear-based thinking. So this is like going back to the central theme, right? It's hard to see what is real or what is just our fear. And if we don't know the difference, then we tend to subconsciously project our pain onto the other person. So really being able to identify these patterns is key. And this is really why SRT is so good, is because it's it makes it easy to identify and release these patterns. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways that we can work on clearing these things. But expect projections. I mean, the guides are telling us there's mirroring and there's projection happening, and it's all being driven by our subconscious mind. So, keep that in mind as you navigate through the energy of June. So this projections card is clarified with unsure of personal identity. People take advantage of your hesitancy to assert your will, triggering an aggressiveness with boundaries you often feel are crossed when that wasn't their intention. Okay, so the first thing here, unsure of personal identity. Well, it's like going with this projection, because if you don't really know who you are and what is driving you, then yeah, you tend to project your patterns. Also, this woman has a mask. She has two masks, actually. So it's almost like an inability to be the true, authentic self, which could be playing into relationship patterns. I brought up codependency and appeasement before. And there's a codependency SRT, if that's something that's coming up for you in June. We have to know who we are to really manifest that perfect relationship. And then at the bottom here, people are taking advantage of your hesitancy to assert your will. Again, codependence. Sorry, I was combining two words. Boundaries are likely to be an issue in June. Boundaries were an issue in May for many people. I know those of you that I've been working with, many times boundaries came up in our discussions and our clearings. And it's about finding the right level of boundary. Like this card is saying, because you weren't asserting yourself, people triggered your feeling that they were crossing your boundaries when they didn't mean to. So if you don't vocalize your needs, your expectations, and what you're willing to do, then you can't really be mad when people inadvertently cross your boundaries. Or if you're someone that's in the process of change, which I think many of our masculine are in this process. They've been letting people take advantage of them to a certain extent. And now they're becoming more aware that they have lacked boundaries, and then they're going to get angry with the other person. But you were letting this person cross your boundaries all along. So there could be some projection on your part. If you get triggered by a boundary issue, or you get triggered by something revolving around your sense of self, I would say stop and look at what you might be projecting. Our union energy needs clearing. Repeat this 11 times with slow, deep breaths. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. I'm grateful for you. So that's the Ho'oponopono prayer, the forgiveness prayer. So when there is blocks or negativity in the energy of union, going back and doing this simple Ho'oponopono prayer can help us balance. Even this could be internal as well. If your inner masculine and feminine is out of whack and there's something going on in your life because of it, then this prayer of forgiveness can help bring that into balance too. Ho'oponopono prayer is like, that's jack of all trades type of energy. Like it can heal so much. But I think again, this is an 8 card. We've had a lot of the same numbers in this reading. There were a lot of 2s in this reading, couple 4s, couple 8s, couple 6s. Even we have this 11 card, which could also be a 2. So kind of interesting that there's just a lot of these repeating numbers. Basically, all these cards are 2, 4, 6, and 8. Not sure what that means, but interesting. They all go by 2s, right? Which is balance, partnership, unity. But this energy of union that Spirit is talking about, again, think outside the box. Don't think of it as just with your counterpart, especially if you're not in contact with your counterpart. So, you may not have a trigger from them, but other people will show up in your life to trigger things. So this is really about coming into kind of a unity energy. So there's likely to be interference in your relationships, and Spirit is just saying, like, remember to forgive. Everybody's having a hard time these days. It's been tricky energy, and let's try to have compassion for people, see the other person's point of view. Even in like a collective level, this is important, due to all the polarization. How can we forgive and see the other person's side of things without being triggered? See, when we haven't cleared our subconscious fears and our inner child is still hurt, all of these little polarities and disagreements, they trigger us and take us out of our sense of peace. And that brings us out of our vibration and makes it so much easier for the dark energy to get a hold of us and interfere with us in some way. So it's so important for us over the next few months to work on stability, emotional stability, mental stability. This is clarified with learning to use time as an ally. Your success is hampered by anxiety as you race against time itself. Focused instead on self-mastery and becoming the author of your own destiny. So, what I'm picking up here is that a lot of times our human mind is so worried about the timing of things, especially when it comes to union. When is union going to happen? And there's a lot of anxiety and fears that get triggered by that, when what Spirit is saying is it would be better to focus on self-mastery in your own inner growth than trying to constantly push for union. Must happen now. It must happen now. It must happen today. And making judgments about everything based on what this other person is doing. And I think there's a lot of people in this spot where it feels like union is closed for them. And despite that, there's still a lot of turmoil in the relationship. And I feel like people are trying to push for that relationship despite the fact that the signs are showing that it's not quite time yet, that there's still healing, there's still self-mastery that has to take place. So Spirit is saying, like, don't watch time. Don't judge things by time. That is one of the things that we're going to have to detach from in this energy to find inner peace and stability. Because if we're just focused on a goal of union, we're not doing our soul the service that is required, because there's a bigger picture here. about ascension and soul growth. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out the SRT links below and see if that's something that might interest you. Also, the link to the Twin Flame Oracle. You can also use that discount code for the second deck I'm using as well, which is the Astro Persona deck. So thank you guys. Much love to you, and I'll speak to you soon.